Hey, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. And right now, it is my honor to be joined by the current Paragon Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. It is the Paragon Alex Chamberlain. Welcome to 360 Wrestling Fanatic.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
And before we get started, I just want to remind everyone that is listening here in the Detroit area, like I am, that they can catch Paragon Pro Wrestling every Saturday night at 11 p.m. on WADL TV 38 here. And if you live anywhere else that you can't watch Paragon Pro on TV, you can download the free Fight TV app to watch on demand at any time. And sir, I just want to say congratulations over a successful title defense against the Vampire Warrior Gangrel on the episode that aired this past weekend.
Yeah, thank you. That was quite a match. Still feeling it today.
Now, Gangrel is a veteran. He's been all over the world, and I'm sure there was some people that doubted you, but I was confident that you were going to go in there and defeat him one-on-one, and that is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get in the ring with any of these guys from the Attitude Era, I think everyone assumes that they're going to be a tough opponent, and they always are, because these guys are a lot more experienced than I am. They've been doing this a lot longer, so they got a lot more ways to inflict pain. But I was pretty confident going into it that I knew I was going to do, and it ended up going up the right way for me. And it's basically kind of the last nail in the coffin for me and him. I beat him straight up 1, 2, 3, and now I'm looking on to see who I'm taking on next.
And that was what I was going to ask next. Is there anybody in mind that you would like to put up the title against?
At this point in Paragon, I'm just asking for anybody who wants to step up to step up. I mean, if anybody wants to take me on, they really got to up their game, because I mean, once you beat a guy like Gangrel, who's literally one of the toughest guys in professional wrestling, all these other guys are going to have to really set a higher standard for themselves if they think they can carry on with me.
And I think one guy that might want a title shot pretty soon is Mikey O'Shea.
Yeah, Mikey's a good competitor. Actually, I faced him in a match a month or two ago, and I pulled out a win on him. But he's a big boy too. He moves well. But we'll see. We'll see what holds down the line for him.
And in Paragon Pro Wrestling, there was another new champion crowned on that same show. It was Royce Isaacs becoming the new American champion. And can I get your thoughts on him?
Oh, Royce is great. He's one of those guys that I think is going to do real well in wrestling. He's got he's got the right kind of athleticism. He takes care of himself the right way. He's got a really good offensive set, and obviously, with Christian Cole, in the background, it's always going to create a decent way to distract his opponents. So, I mean, he's getting it done, and he's getting it done pretty quick.
And do you think there will ever be a time where he might also want to face the Paragon Pro Heavyweight Champion versus champion match, maybe?
I've never turned down a challenge, so, I mean, if any day he feels like he can, hang with me, I'll give him a shot. We'll see how well he does, but, I think that's a pretty big hill for anybody to climb at this point in Paragon. So, but I'm more than willing to give everyone a shot. I'm definitely not lacking confidence.
Now, at this time, in case there's anybody that has never seen an episode of Paragon Pro Wrestling, how would you describe it?
Paragon is, the thing I like about Paragon is the way the show is run. I mean, it's a great wrestling show, but they also take the time to establish each each of the people, each of the opponents, each of the stars of the show. They actually take their time, creating, educating the fans on the background and the stories that are involved. So I think it beats out most of any wrestling on television today, short of WWE. I mean, we actually have stories. We actually have incredible production, characters that people want to invest in. I mean, wrestling is wrestling, but creating stars and creating characters that people want to believe in is really what makes professional wrestling a really cool business.
And how is it working in the venue, the Samstown? I know recently Ring of Honor has also ran a pay-per-view there, and is that a good venue for pro wrestling?
Oh, it's a great venue for wrestling. I mean, they've got a super awesome setup there with the stage and the lighting and the TV studio built into the stadium. Really good seating. It's got enough space, great locker room. I mean, it's perfectly set up for that kind of entertainment.
We discussed Gangrel. Do you think there's a chance we could see any more veterans or legends in pro wrestling coming to PPW soon?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing about Paragon too, is that there's no shortage of them willing to bring in stars and bring in names, and I mean they've got a good back office of guys who are running things there, and they've been able to bring in some stars like Lisa Marie comes out with me, Baron, Victoria from WWE. We've got D'Lo Brown there, Matt Stryker. So there's never a shortage of superstars who want to come on to be on our show. And I get calls from old WWE guys who are looking to try to want to see what the product's all about, and they ask me about it, because they watch and they like what they see.
Now, I don't know if there are any plans in the future maybe to do special shows, TV tapings outside of Vegas, but would touring be something that you think would be good to do?
I think so. I think the next step for Paragon is to build up to a big building pay-per-view. Something that they can put on the Fight app to really have one big event. Every wrestling company has that one big event that they like to put on. I think Paragon's next big step will be there. If they do it in Vegas, or I know they've been looking at maybe something in Miami, so they might do the TVs to build up some big show down in Miami. So you never know. I know that I've heard some rumors here and there that that's probably what the next thing they want to do, and then possibly take it on to some sort of maybe a tour where they do a TV taping in a different city.
I know I would love to be able to go see a show here in Michigan. And the next question I have, what is your thoughts on the state of independent wrestling in general?
I think independent wrestling right now is really hitting a pretty big stride. A lot of these promotions that have really been putting in the time and effort into promoting well are really showing the fruits of that labor. You're seeing some big companies now. You're seeing companies that are drawing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, putting on pay-per-views, doing business with WWE. I mean, it's a pretty good time to be in independent wrestling right now. There's a lot of good opportunities for young guys coming in, and to actually get some good exposure, I think.
And you mentioned WWE. Do you think this relationship they're doing with Evolve and other promotions like Progress, Revolution Pro for the Cruiserweight Classic will help the indies?
Oh, definitely. I mean, whenever WWE has a hand in trying to give the younger generation a heads up, maybe set some guidelines and expectations for the younger people, I think that can only help, because most people's goal is to either end up at WWE, New Japan, TNA, or Ring of Honor. So anytime these companies kind of work on the start out level, I think it's very smart, and I think it's their way of kind of giving back and their way of investing in the future too. I mean, if they're hitting these guys when they're really young, in their early 20s, when they're just starting out in wrestling, and they're telling them kind of what they expect, or giving them some advice and some motivation. I mean, once these guys hit their stride in their later years, when they get more experience, they're going to be ready for WWE.
And do you follow Lucha Underground any?
I do actually. I have a buddy there, Joey Ryan and Brian Cage are both there, so I definitely watch the product just to watch those two guys. They're good friends of mine. I love the product. It's awesome. It's a different kind of wrestling show. It's almost like a soap opera, but with wrestling. It's really cool.
Yeah. What do you think of? What do you think of like the behind the scene or backstage segments? I should say how they're shot and everything.
That's the best part of the show, I think. I mean, the wrestling is unreal. It's some of the most athletic wrestling you'll ever see in ring, but the backstage stuff, that's what I'm a big fan of because it's like watching any other kind of like high-end TV show. They really put the time in to make that feel like it's everything is really important once the stuff backstage goes on, and there's no wasted time in front of the camera.
Now, do you have a dream match in your career that you would like to face anybody that would be your dream opponent to face anybody you haven't had a chance to work with yet?
Yeah, I mean, for me, a dream opponent, I have a couple of dream opponents. My all-time dream opponent would be probably Triple H. He was always kind of my inspiration growing up. He was the kind of guy I always wanted to be like, so he's like my top opponent I would like to get in the ring with on a large scale. Also, Chris Jericho. He was another wrestler I was a huge fan of growing up. I just loved his whole his whole shtick when I was a kid.
Speaking of Triple H, how do you think he's doing working with NXT and running it down there?
I think he's the smartest guy in sports entertainment right now, to be honest. He's obviously showing he understands the way wrestling's transitioning into, it's kind of coming back around where people want to see good matches with good characters and cool stories. And I think he has the right formula right now that people want to see, and that's why NXT is it's growing like wildfire. It's just becoming a really popular product, and everyone wants to be on it, and it's a show that everyone wants to watch and can't get enough of.
And out of everybody on NXT right now, who impresses you the most?
Samoa Joe, hands down. I mean, that guy, he can't have a bad match with really anybody. I say that a lot about him, but he's got the right kind of intensity. They haven't had a wrestler like him in years. A big guy who doesn't necessarily have that bodybuilder physique, but he's so athletic, he's crazy intense, and everything he does looks extremely painful, and he can just go, and he's definitely he's the star of the show right now, I think. Anytime the fans are watching him, they're paying attention.
And let's get back to Paragon Pro real quick. And if anybody's wondering, they might go to Vegas on a vacation, how can they get tickets to see a TV taping?
Just go to samstownlive.com, and that's where you can get the tickets right there at the box office.
And
you can walk right up in there. Yeah.
That's awesome. And do you expect maybe more TV deals with more networks anytime soon?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're always talking about, breaking out the branch more, doing some more some local TV markets, and always trying to get on obviously to the national TV scale. And they're also doing really well internationally. Really enough, that's where Paragon's really taking off is overseas. In the American market, there's a lot of TV out there, obviously, for wrestling. So just trying to find the right channel and the right kind of timing is the key. So I don't know necessarily what they're doing, but you hear rumors here and there. Yeah, it's definitely getting noticed. I mean, the product's really growing, so I can definitely tell that.
Do you have a favorite match that you have had in your career?
I have a couple. Probably my all-time favorite match is my Iron Man match with Wes Briscoe that I did for Paragon. That was one of those times where you literally lose track of whatever is going on around you. You're so in the zone. And Wes Briscoe is one of those guys that he's such an incredible wrestler, and he's kind of like me, where we're always trying to one-up each other. So that's when we're in the ring, it tends to work really well. Another match I'm really proud of is with Jay Lethal that I did about 2 years ago. in Florida.